This right here, 105cc engine, came off of a nice little mini bike I'll show you in a moment, and I have successfully doubled the horsepower. I'm going to show you how to do that step by step in just a moment coming up. This is the mini bike that it came off of. This is a Coleman RB100. It's similar to the Megamoto 80, MMB 80, MMB 105. Top secret project. Top secret project. Let's get to the mini bike engine. Double the horsepower. All right, start the video. Tillotson and a Predator, both 212cc engines. Doing an intro. I'm doing an intro. Doing an intro now. Isn't it neat? Doing an intro, cause I'm doing an intro. I'm doing an intro now. Look at my feet. And that was the story of how I beat Donkey Kong. To my left, I've got the RB200, but the main bike of focus today is going to be the RB100 over here to the right, and either one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to double the horsepower, or I'm going to blow it up in the process. Or both. Let's start the video. Engine displacement 105cc, power 1.77 horsepower. Alright, out of box, looks like we're going to be 22 max speed. So this is the max of this engine. This engine right here is going to be just over 2 horsepower, maxed out at 2,700 RPMs. The max RPM that comes out of it, out of the box, is 3,600 or 3,600 RPM out of the box. When you remove the throttle stop screw, the very first thing that a lot of people do, I've noticed I removed the throttle stop screw and it actually didn't kick in the governor. You can find your throttle stop screw right here next to the pull lever. You'll be able to find where that throttle stop screw goes. I replaced my throttle stop screw with one that actually has a Phillips head screwdriver able to use it instead of that wanker one they had in there. And you don't need to pull it all the way out. Where are we at? 25 mile per hour max speed. This is uphill. It's pulling me uphill. Oh, another fellow motorcyclist. It's a trike. Alright. So we beat 25 miles per hour though. What am I tucking? Tucking to the wind. Woo-hoo! 26. Oh my god, tucking works. I got 26 by tucking. That's probably why a 6 foot tall guy is going to be having a little bit of drag on it. 26 miles per hour. But with the throttle stop screw, you still hit a limit, and the top speed did go up, which was pretty nice. Now, with that in mind, once I pull the throttle stop screw out, I'm not going to get you the horsepower just yet, but the max RPM is 4,600 max RPM. So we are going to be opening up the exhaust, and we are going to be opening up the intake, and getting a little bit of performance parts on there, as well as going about it cheap. I mean, honestly, the first modification I'm going to do is not purchasing a header. It's going to be drilling holes in the muffler. Bink, hey, I didn't say I was going to spend all the money in the world. Really? No. I'm going to go about this pretty frugal to start, and then put a little bit more money into this. Alright, so I successfully doubled the horsepower of this engine, but you know what? I'm going to have to level with you. That's kind of a lie. I doubled what the box said the horsepower would be, not the actual horsepower. Let's take a look at what I did. So this little engine has been able to give me more horsepower than what the box rating says. So instead of 1.77, we're looking at 2 horsepower. I did not get a full 4 horsepower out of it, but I can actually do more to remove material from the muffler and get a better flow going through there. I just chose not to simply because I almost hit 7,000 RPM. 6,500, 6,600, almost 6,700 RPMs. Yep, it went over 6,700. That was really pushing it. I wanted to stay around 6,000 RPM. And, oops. We've already taken a look at throttle stop screw, and when you remove the throttle stop screw, you go from your 3,600 RPM max out of the box to a 4,600 RPM engine, which gives you a little bit of increase in speed, but doesn't give you that increase in power. Now, this is not a channel that's going to tell you to bypass the governor. I know some people use a twist tie or a zip tie on one of the springs for the throttle linkage and bypass the governor, but I'm not going to be doing that here. In this particular case, I'm going to be removing the governor, which means drain the oil, pull the side cover off, the crankcase cover off, and remove the gear. Just the gear though, not the throttle linkage. With that governor removed, we've gone from a 3600 RPM out of the box engine to a 5000 RPM engine. So it is a little bit more than just having the throttle stop screw removed, and it does come in at about 2.7 horsepower. This is all free horsepower where you're not spending money. If I'm going to be doing the governor removal, what I like to add is a little bit of peace of mind and security that I don't have valve float. Valve float can make the engine come apart on you. At this point, I use something very cheap. I've got a package of Glark's copper sealing washers, 165 pieces. I love having a box of these washers around because I use them as spacers on all kinds of different things. In this particular case, I'm going to be using an M14 by 18 by 1. So I am going to have to remove the lash caps and the springs. When I pull those springs out, I put the washers in place, and that adds a little bit more tension into the spring as a shim, and then I put everything back together and set valve lash properly. So we really have only spent about 30 cents worth of parts. We've gone from a 2 horsepower to a 2.7 horsepower just with the engine's capabilities from removing the governor and the throttle stop screw. So hey, let's do more free stuff. Inside of the muffler is a spark arrestor. That spark arrestor is really holding back the flow from this engine pretty significantly, so we're going to remove that. Now the muffler has a couple different chambers that it's going to bypass through, and in the center of the muffler is a plate. I'm going to take a 1/2 inch drill bit and I'm going to drill right through the center of that plate in the middle. So what happens here is our flow is greatly increased from the exhaust. Because the flow is greatly increased from the exhaust, we can still run the stock carburetor and it might work out for you. This is free all the way up to here, and you're getting a lot more power coming from your engine. You are at this point over 3 horsepower. Nicely over 3 horsepower with just these free modifications. However, now your engine may not run all the best. And at this point, some people may just keep it that way. Your engine may run a bit lean, however. So what I did is I added a $12 carburetor. The carburetor swap, you can just do a straight carburetor swap and keep the air filter on here. However, I chose to add a high flow air filter, and that is probably the most expensive part on here. So all totaled, without the high flow air filter, you're looking at $20, and you're able to get pretty good horsepower. This high flow air filter kit, there are a couple different types. You have to make sure that you get one specific type. Looks like this here. Not the other one. And you'll be taking your 1/2 inch drill bit that you use to drill through the muffler and just shaving down. Don't drill too far, but just shave down where your nuts secure this high flow air filter in place. If you are putting the high flow air filter in place, you do also have to shave the tab for the choke on the carburetor itself. So just the bottom of the tab needs to be shaved off, and you should be good to go. Put those nuts in, install it, and you'll rock in your adapter, and your high flow air filter can fit right over the top of that. This comes out to 3.56 horsepower, and I didn't even tune it at this point. Once I get those jets, I'm going to throw those in there, and then let's take a look at some top speed. Alright, let's talk about carburetor tuning and performance. Now, I don't have a best jet kit that I can tell you, here's the emulsion kit that you want, and here's the jet that you want. They're a little bit more difficult to come by. So, what you can do is a couple things. If you're using the carburetor that came with your engine, you may want to be drilling that out to a 0.52 millimeters. With a very, very fine tip drill bit, and that's going to be a nice running engine throughout. Shouldn't die on you, shouldn't bog down, should be a really good transition. The more powerful engine, however. The one that I can't show you me riding it because I played around with a little bit more and drilled a little bit too much out of it, is actually a 0.58. With the jet that came with the carburetor that I upgraded to, drilling it to a 0.58 and working on the emulsion tube's top end to lean things out at the top end, you're going to get the most power out of this engine and a little bit more than what you saw in the video. So hopefully you've got everything that you need. If you do buy a drill bit that's very small gauge, make sure you use a digital caliper of some sort. Measure out those holes that you're going to be drilling with those drill bits because they may not be the most accurate. Bink, now you do not need to purchase that extra carburetor. You can work with and drill with what you have. However, the emulsion tube on this carburetor, the stock carburetor, is not set properly for that high speed RPM. Bink, nor do you need to purchase the air filter. That high flow air filter, however, can be used on a different engine. So if I want to just swap out to a different engine in the future, I can reuse this. This is set for 196cc clones and 212 Predators. Bink, well, hey, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you have a great day.